what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Hey, this is Andrew Moose from the Street Circle Drive podcast here on The Mesh. Interested in promoting your business to an online audience? Your ad could be right here. Consider advertising on the Mesh Podcast Network. Head over to themesh.tv for details.
Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Hey, Meredith. Good to be here with you today.
So, Dad, this is the episode that I think I've been dreading the most talking with you about because
Sexy
it's
time?
all about sex. Yeah, and I feel uncomfortable already.
Well, that's part of the dad's job is to make his daughter feel uncomfortable about sex. So I'm glad I'm fulfilling that part of my parenting responsibilities.
Yeah, well, with that said, should we dive in and just get to the sexy times?
Well, I'd like to start by saying, we always talk about highlights and lowlights first. So, my highlight, Madison is an American hero by sticking by her guns and leaving. And she said something that resonated with me, the dad. I just can't see you proposing to me 6 days after you slept with somebody else, or in Peter's case, 2 other people. And to me, this sounds so normal.
We don't know for sure if it was 2 other people. We cannot confirm that he slept with both people.
But we suspect that he did. I suspect that he did. And to me, that is such a normal sort of thing of I'm not going to propose to someone after I've been sleeping around in the last week, that it seems very normal. Now, of course, The Bachelor is not normal, but Yeah,
so I have 2 thoughts on that. One, did Maddie actually leave?
Good question. I mean, I'm looking
We did not see her getting into a limo and crying and having her exit interview.
Okay, and I'm basing that partly off next week's preview where it looks like only Victoria and Hannah Ann are out there potentially getting a rose, but fair point.
But the previews do like to trick us.
This is true.
My second point is that Maddie knew what she signed up for. She went on the Windmill Bachelor season. Like, what was she expecting here? He's going to bang Hannah Brown 4 times in the Windmill. You better expect he's going to bang all of his ladies in the fantasy suite.
Well, considering that...
That's just my take on it. Well,
considering his personality has not struck me as that exciting, I think about that's sort of his brand. The 4 times in the Windmill is sort of his brand. So
that's what he's known for.
So a question for you. When someone signs up to be on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, do they know who the person is ahead of time that they're signing up to try to be with? Or is it just, I get to be on the show and maybe there's chemistry? Because that was a question in my head.
I think it depends. I know for The Bachelorette, the men will not know because we will find out who The Bachelorette is in 2 weeks after the season ends, and they'll already have the men ready to go. But for The Bachelor, there's a longer break. And so the women have probably already gone through the casting process. But I think that they probably aren't officially in until after The Bachelor's announced. Well, so they could back out if they weren't feeling it with him.
Okay. I was just curious. And even if they don't know who it is, I think they probably should be familiar enough with The Bachelor or The Bachelorette show to know, by the way, there's going to be this fantasy suite thing, and in all likelihood, the Bachelor or Bachelorette's going to be with more than one person. So
unless the Bachelor is a known virgin like Colton was last season. But that was a whole different scenario. We go from the Virgin Bachelor to the Windmill Bachelor. Like, Maddie's a season late here.
So did you, what was your highlight of the show last night?
Well, I have 2. One is the thing that made me laugh the most. It's when Peter came in to the hotel suite and said, "Good day, Sheila's," because he's just like such a dope. And I felt like I was in an Outback Steakhouse.
Well, you used to like the Outback Steakhouse. Now not so much.
The Outback has really gone downhill since I was a child. That's no longer my go-to birthday restaurant of choice.
I don't
I've
think...
moved on to the Olive Garden.
Well, I don't think the Outback will be advertising on our podcast now, but go ahead.
Well, maybe Olive Garden will. All right, so my second high is during Victoria's fantasy suite, how she started crying and she was saying how much she loved him and how she's put him through so much. And I thought that was like some self-awareness that we don't see a lot from Victoria. So I feel like there was some growth there, and I was kind of proud of her in that moment. Granted, whenever she finds out about Maddie giving her ultimatum, she like turns into full out bitch mode and you can just see her face change. Like, but I thought for a second there we were gaining a little bit of growth. So I gave that a high. Okay.
Well, I thought it was, I probably rolled my eyes a bit when they were on their date. Peter and Victoria were on their date, and Peter, I think, is on camera saying, everything is great with her except the communication. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's kind of important for a real relationship to be sustainable. The communication thing might be an important part of it, but I'm glad he can overlook the communication issues.
Well, this also takes me into one of my lows, because my main low is that Peter's still into Victoria. She's just kind of crazy, and she asks him, like, what is it, anything that I can do better? Like, what can I change? And he's like, don't change anything. Like, you're just so great already. And like, it shows girls that people like Peter are willing to put up with you being batshit crazy. And it's just like, I don't think it's very realistic. And I don't think that we need to be encouraging people to act like this.
Well, and I found her whole sort of backstory of I dated this guy for 3 years and he never really asked me what I wanted. And I sort of felt she was sort of making that up as she went. And I'm not saying she didn't have a boyfriend for 3.5 years, but was just trying to find some reasons for why she acted like a lunatic. So anyway, I
agree. It's like she was just trying to hit some like buzzwords of bad relationships. And she was like, oh, and this and this and this. Yeah. And that's why I have these issues.
So I had a couple of lowlights I wanted to share. Number one, okay. I just said, the 3 girls that are going to be going to the fantasy suite thing, they all get to live in the same house with one another. I mean, there were some very awkward conversations or lack of conversations with them just sort of staring at one another and you know, way to go, Bachelor people, for really trying to make this as uncomfortable as possible by putting all 3 of the girls that are going to sleep with the same guy in the same house. So I thought that was sort of a low blow by the Bachelor people.
Yeah, I have more to say on this later, but I will say now that this has never happened before.
Okay.
That they all stay in the same hotel during fantasy suites. It's normally like once you get to Final Four, you don't have to be staying with anyone. You're on your own for the rest of the journey to find love.
So my other low light, you know, at this point, I don't see many commercials because I've cut my cord to Charter Spectrum, good riddance, another company that won't be advertising on our podcast. But I've started using YouTube TV, which has been wonderful. Way to go, YouTube TV. You should be advertising on our podcast. And I want to thank the Brothers in Technology podcast on the Mesh Podcast Network for helping me down that path of cutting the cord. So you should be listening to all the podcasts on the mesh.tv and looking there if you want to advertise here. But anyway, I did see that ABC is advertising for seniors looking for love, which to me,
I saw that too.
That just like, no, do not do that. Do not go there. That's bad. It's going to be awful. Don't go there.
Really? You don't want us to have a podcast talking about the old people going to the fantasy suite?
No, I don't. I don't want to talk about little blue pills or any of that stuff. And I saw that and I did a double take and had to maybe rewind once to say, did they really say that? So let's not go there.
Did they mean seniors in college? I'm confused.
I don't think that's what they were thinking. So anyway, I thought that was a low light that has the possibility of going much, much lower. So let's not do that. Come on, people.
the Bachelor franchise has a lot coming out. They have this casting call for seniors. They have their new Bachelor Listen to Your Heart, whatever, where it's a dating show for singers. They have we have Bachelorette coming, Bachelor in Paradise, and Bachelor Summer Games will hit us this summer to coincide with the Olympics because they did Bachelor Winter Games last Winter Olympics. We just have so much premium coming at us this summer.
All right.
I'm excited.
What any other lowlights or that you'd like to share? Or are we going to move along?
I have some lowlights. One, no windmill fantasy suite. They really missed a prime opportunity for Peter to relive his glory days. And two, we didn't get a morning after shot with Hannah Ann. Like, we got to see Victoria and Peter waking up in bed together. We didn't get that at all with Hannah Ann. And I like to see what type of pajamas the girls wear and what their no makeup look is like. And I didn't even get to see the no makeup look because Victoria slept in her makeup or put it back on before the cameras came. So I felt like I was kind of gypped out of that, which is something I enjoy during Fantasy Suite week.
Well, what makes you think that she would have
even... So then we can move on.
What makes you think she'd have pajamas on?
Well, they're not going to show her naked.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they're going to show anymore. Things are out of control here.
This is like a normal cable channel. You can't show naked chicks on it.
Okay,
good. You only apply naked chicks. Okay. Let's move on. My right reason is I didn't have a great one. I'm going with Hannah Ann. I think that she seemed the most genuine throughout the episode. Maddie had her mental breakdown. Victoria was herself, so she obviously is not there for the right reason. And I think that Hannah Ann's date was very sweet. I liked her. I liked the way she came across. Out of the three now, Hannah Ann is who I would like to win. So I'm giving her the right reason. What about you?
Well, as I said at the beginning of our podcast, I thought that Madison, and the fact that she can't wrap her head around that a man would want to propose to her after sleeping with other women in such a short period of time, and she seems, at least we didn't get to the point where Peter is pulling out his envelope with a sly grin saying, hey, why don't you read this? And there might be a key in there for the rest of the evening. And we didn't even get there at least. So, on the one hand, I had that as the right reason. But of course, on the other hand, for the wrong reason, I kept thinking to myself, like you said, Madison, you're on the wrong show. Why are you actually on this show? Because whether you knew Peter was going to be the Bachelor, I assume, must know enough about the show and the process to know that this was coming. So I just wonder, and I think I wondered about this last week when we talked about the hometown dates, why she's actually there. So that's sort of a wrong reason.
I think that maybe we missed some of the conversation Maddie and Peter had after the rose ceremony where she pulled him aside to talk about like her expectations, because she made it seem like she really laid it out and was like, I'm a virgin. I've never had sex. You shouldn't be having sex. But that's like not what came across to me at all. And so it makes the audience seem kind of in Peter's corner where he's like, whoa, you're actually a virgin. Like, I didn't know this. Like, so I feel like we missed something.
Well, and I thought it was just my old man ears because I could barely understand or hear what they were saying anyway. So, but you could be right there. Yeah, the other wrong reason I had was it just seemed like Victoria was taking way too much pleasure in telling Madison that, oh, Pete and Hannah Ann are probably sleeping together right now, and she seemed to just have that grin, and she just seemed to be twisting the knife in Madison as she was saying that, and I just sort of confirmed to me that she's really quite the monster.
Yeah, that goes into my wrong reason. I chose the producers as the wrong reason for getting all the girls to stay in the same hotel for fantasy suites, because that's, as I said, not normal, never been done before. And the only reason they did that is because they knew that Maddie was going to freak out. And I think Victoria F was just there to instigate Maddie's mental breakdown about this sex. And it was just kind of like a whirling tornado of crap that they knew was going to happen. And they were like, yes, this is perfect. Like, throw them all in this hotel room together. Like, you have to come back and see each other the morning after with that, like, that nice glow that Hannah Ann and Victoria had. Like, poor Maddie. Like, they just knew what they were doing, and they screwed her over pretty well. So that's my wrong reason.
Yeah. And the only other thing I wrote down was, and maybe this isn't fair, is, from a wrong reason, is why is Chris Harrison even still getting paid? I was looking forward to venting about him sometime this year, and he's hardly even been on the show. So what's the deal?
He's like an executive producer now as well as host. So I guess he's helping this tornado of crap happen by throwing all the girls together.
Well, I guess I'll get to vent about him when we do the Girls Tell All episode that he hosts.
You'll get a lot of,
which looks to me like it's going to be like a steel cage match, with Tammy Sammy just, going crazy on all these girls. So I'm looking forward to that.
We didn't see any actual clips of the Women Tell All in the coming up next week because, one, we don't know who the third girl who is leaving this week that will be at the Women Tell All. However, I have heard rumors that high finishing women were not invited to the Women Tell All, such as Natasha and Kelly. They will not be there. Why is Kelly not invited? I don't know. I'm Team Kelly, but apparently the producers did not invite her to the Women Tell All. Okay.
Well, who is your MVP for the week?
It's not so much a who. It's a what, and it's Maddie's virginity. I'm giving the virginity the MVP. It really stole the show this week. I think that Maddie is too good for this TV show. She's too pure. I also do not want to see her become the Bachelorette. I don't think that's her where she's going to be finding love either. But I hope that Maddie excuses herself from this show. I think that she needs to find a man that respects and values her as she is, isn't going to sleep with other women. And I've learned recently that it's important to be with someone whose goals and hopes and values match up with hers or with yours, because otherwise, no matter how much you love the person and want it to work, it's just not going to. And he's just going to sleep with all the other girls, even though you asked him not to. So Maddie's virginity is my MVP. I hope she leaves. I hope she can find someone better than Peter. I hope that when Peter's mom cries and says, go get her, bring her back, and he tries to, she denies him. Because I hope she stands up for her values.
I'm with you on that, and I think that's a very appropriate MVP. I will throw out that I got a text from Uncle Dave who suggested the MVP be, quote, the frickin' scar which gets bigger every week, on Peter's head. And I think Dave is right that the scar seems to be getting more noticeable. I hope it's not infected or anything like that.
That boy needs some Neosporin. It's looking gross.
Yeah, it's scars are okay, but I'm not sure that he might want to be talking to the medical staff there, and they might have done him some disservice in the way they treated this little thing. Or maybe they just said it was like a little bump in the head on the golf cart, and maybe there's something more sinister out there. Who knows?
No, we saw the video, but maybe when he was getting his stitches, Peter was like, make it so I look like Harry Potter when these things come out. He's my favorite character. So
that could be it too. So
that could be it. All right, so hit me with your fatherly advice. I hope none of it pertains to sex.
Well, so just here's my fatherly advice for this week. In this is for Peter and the gentleman. In real life, you really don't get to be in love with three women at the same time and sleep with all three women. And that's really not how it works. As my grandma Helen used to say, who's going to buy the cow when they can get the milk for free? So, at some point you really need to commit to one person and approach it that way. Madison or anyone who is considering finding their future spouse, and is concerned about them being intimate with people, other people, don't go on this show. And then just my what I wrote down, just sort of goes along with what you were saying. Madison and other young people, you have to be true to yourself. Don't sell yourself short, no matter what. Your parents are going to be there for you. They're going to have your back. And we saw this preview of Peter's mom. We've seen it throughout the season of her crying, saying, "Oh, you must go get her, bring her back to us." And I think they're obviously trying to make us think that Peter is going to go try to get Madison back, since Madison was the one that attended their renewal of their vows in the very first date of the show. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to Peter showing up in Auburn to try and get Madison back, and Madison's dad, Charles Barkley, and the entire Auburn basketball team just cleaning his clock. That would make for a wonderful ending to this show.
Well, maybe he's going to get Hannah Brown back. We really don't know. We cannot forget about our one true queen, Hannah Brown.
I know that's what you are hoping will be the end of this show.
Well, I'm actually conflicted because after watching Peter's season and seeing how big of a dope he is, Hannah Brown can do so much better. But I want her to be happy. And if Peter's what makes her happy, then I hope they end up together. Is that all the fatherly advice you have?
That's all I've got for this week.
I thought that you were going to say something about if you're going jet skiing in Australia, don't leave your jet ski in the middle of the ocean.
Well, that's good advice too. But I imagine that the Bachelor crew will clean up after you in this situation.
Oh, well, I don't have a Bachelor crew with me, so I guess I shouldn't leave my jet skis in the middle of the ocean.
Well, my advice to you would be you might not want to ride the jet skis. I'm not sure you're going to be doing that great going 40 miles an hour on the water. I'm not sure that's your cup of tea, but you never know.
I'm adventurous. I'd be fine. Okay. All right. So make sure to check out our Instagram. We had some great posts last night. I thought that they were very funny, very meme heavy. Again, our Instagram tag handle is My Dad Watches The Bachelor, no spaces. You can find us there. You have anything else to say, Dad?
So what show is going to happen next week? Is next week the Girls Tell All, or what's going to happen?
Women Tell All.
Okay.
The Women Tell All.
That's next week.
So we are going to tell all about the Women Tell All next week.
Okay. Well,
it'll be a hot mess. I don't know if there was any highs.
Well, and Chris Harrison will be the referee, so I'll get some time to maybe vent about Chris Harrison. Good for me.
Yes. Okay. So if you like our podcast, make sure to subscribe. You can listen to us anywhere that you get podcasts, and make sure to come back next week so you can hear about the Women Tell All from the right perspective and my dad's.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.